Good evening, everyone. I'll call the City Council to order at 8 o'clock on Monday evening, September 22nd, This meeting is being recorded. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I would ask if you could please remain standing for a moment of silence. Former City Council President Walter Bonin recently passed away. Walter served City Council 7 years as City Council President, and he also served, I couldn't count how many years, as the Licensing Board Chair. Silence for Councilor President Walter Bonin. Thank you very much. Okay, today we have 17 items on this evening's agenda, and I will ask the clerk. Agenda item number 1.
Minutes of the City Council meeting, September 8th, 2025.
Councilor Brown.
Thank you, Mr. President. Move to accept and place on file the minutes.
It's made and seconded to accept and place on file the minutes. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor, opposed, the minutes are filed, and the vote is 10-0. Item number 2.
Communication from Councilors Ossing and Navin regarding municipal aggregation, September 2025 update.
Councilor Navin.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Mobbers participated in our aggregation program, saved over $104,000 in the second quarter of 2025. The city's contract with First Power began in February of 24, will run through November of 25. The rate is 14.15 cents per kilowatt hour, which is lower than the national grid rate of 14.672, and the basic service winter rate of 15.484 cents per kilowatt hour from August 24th through January 25. Sorry, that is a typo. Importantly, this contract provides 100% renewable, and this contract with First Point Power has saved more than $2.9 million. Since the aggregation program has been in effect since 2007, municipal residential users have saved over $41 million, and people should be proud of that. I have a motion to accept and place on file.
Motion made and seconded to accept and place on file the communication. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor, opposed, the communication is filed, the vote is 10-0. Agenda item number 3.
Mayor, regarding a gift acceptance in the amount of $500 from the Disabled American Veterans Organization, awarded to the Veteran Services Department to be used to cover the cost of pizza lunches.
Councilor Irish.
Thank you, Mr. President. Motion to approve the gift, please.
Motion made and seconded to approve the gift. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those opposed, the gift is approved, and the vote is 10-0. Agenda item number 4.
Communication from the mayor regarding certification of free cash in the amount of $7,951,038, in addition to transfer requests from the undesignated fund to OPEB Trust and the undesignated stabilization in the amount of $795,143.80 each, respectively, pursuant to the financial policies of the city.
Councilor Irish.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to make a motion this evening to approve both transfers. First transfer would motion to transfer request in the amount of $795,143.80 from Foundation account, and also a transfer of free cash in the amount of $795,143.80 to our OPEB account, please.
Seconded to approve both transfers, 10% going to OPEB and 10% going to the stabilization account. Any discussion on the motion?
Thank you, Mr. President. I wasn't for sure if it was going to finance, so I was saving my questions for there, but we can do it here. I'm looking at the stabilization undone, the available balance of $24,376,358. Just explanation is some of that money is dedicated to West Side Fire Station and other projects, but is that up to date to this point?
Yes, this sheet that the auditor provided is up to date. So you'll see there's a downtown project, there's a West Side Fire Station, there's open space, and there's the undesignated piece, which is where this fund will go.
So with that money, we're doing, all I'm trying to say is that's a pretty healthy amount of money, 24 million. That's,
it is, but if they want it between closer to 15%, we're only at 12, so we're working our way slowly up there.
They want 15 now.
That is correct.
Well, thank you. You answered. Thank you, Mr. President.
You're welcome, Councilor. On the motion to approve both transfers, any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Transfers are approved, and the vote is 10-0. Agenda item number 5.
Communication from the mayor regarding a transfer request in the amount of $9,297 from free cash to street construction to cover the expense of repaving a section of Cashman Street.
Councilor Irish.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to thank City Engineer Percio for submitting the letter outlining the conversations that they had with the developer. My motion would be to approve the transfer request in the $9,201.01 from...
Motion made and seconded to approve the transfer. Any discussion on the motion? Councilor Doucette.
Mr. President, to the mayor, nice job. Usually some of this stuff doesn't get done. This is the dotting the i's, crossing the t while the whole thing complete. So it's a real advantage to the community. Even though it's not in my ward, I got to compliment good work when I see it. So thank you, folks.
Thank you, Councilor Doucette. Any comments on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? The transfer is approved, and the vote is 10-0. Agenda item number 6.
Communication from the mayor regarding the appointment of William H. Payton III as building commissioner for a one-year term from the date of council confirmation.
Councilor Naven.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Thank you to the mayor for sending this down, and thank you for Bill to be willing to serve. I had an opportunity to talk with Bill a little bit earlier today, and I told him that over the past about 6 to 8 months, I've had the opportunity in random conversations where people have come to me and offered that we're really lucky to have Bill, that the office runs well with him. To the craft, and as well as his focus to detail, is something that we should be really proud of. So when this came down, I was really appreciative of him. And so with that, I want to make sure that if it's within the council's opinion that we should move forward on this tonight, to do so, start the position of backfilling Bill and making sure that that office, which is critical to city operations, is fully staffed and moving as quickly as they can. So with that, I would ask for a motion to approve the appointment of William Payton as building commissioner for a one-year term to begin on Thursday, September 24th.
Motion made and seconded to approve the appointment of Mr. Payton to commissioner for a one-year term. Any discussion on the motion? Councilor Oram.
Thank you, Mr. President. Looking at William's resume, very interesting. He worked himself to the point where he's going, and I'm glad he's staying with us. But he also has a private and public background, so he sees the other side as well. So I have no problem with this appointment as well. I'm glad he's willing to accept. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Oram. Any other questions or comments? Councilor Doucette.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Thank you for accepting the job, Bill. So I've worked with him off and on, as most house owners do, working with the building inspection department. So I think that's great that someone from inside is taking over. So thank you again.
Thank you, Councilor Doucette. Hearing none, all those in favor of the appointment of the building commissioner? All in favor? Opposed? The appointment of Mr. Payton as the building commissioner for a one-year term is approved and is 10-0. Congratulations, William. Agenda item number 7.
Communication from the mayor regarding notification of temporary appointment pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 41, Section 61A of Brian Doheny as interim city 2025 for a 60-day term to expire November 15th, 2025.
Councilor Naven.
Thank you, Mr. President. Motion to accept and place on file.
Motion's made and file of communication and discussion on the motion. Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Communication is filed and the vote is 10-0.
Communication from City Solicitor Jason Grossfield regarding request from Saul Caraval on behalf of Chapa Paisa Restaurant, 203 to 205 Main Street. Request for use of city property for outside seating in proper legal form, order number 25-100, 9529A.
Councilor Brown.
Thank you, Mr. President. Move and place on file the communication, and I ask for this item to be moved to number 16.
Motion's made and second to accept and place on file the communication and move this down to agenda item 16. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? The motion carries. This is accepted and placed on file the communication and going to number 6. Agenda item number 9.
Communication from City Solicitor Jason Grossfield regarding the application for a special permit from Attorney Gemma Cashman on behalf of Royal 401 for the purpose of operating an approximate 203,500 square foot warehousing and distribution facility to be located at 415 Elm Street in proper legal form, incorporated by the City Council on September 8th, 2025, order number 25-100, 9434E.
Councilor Roby.
Thank you, Mr. President. Move to accept communication from the solicitor and to move this down to agenda number 17.
Motion is made and seconded to accept and place on file the communication and move this down to number 17. Is there any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? The motion carries. This is accepted and placed on file the communication. Moving down to agenda item number 17, and the vote is 10-0. Agenda item number 10.
Communication for the Board of Registrars. Registrars of voters regarding a request to authorize in-person early voting for the municipal election pursuant to Chapter 92 of the Acts of 2022.
Councilor Ficillo.
Thank you, Mr. President. Move to approve the dates for early voting and to approve an early voting site.
Motion is made and seconded to approve the dates for early voting and City Hall as a designated voting location. Any discussion on the motion? None of those in favor? Opposed? The motion carries. The dates for the early voting are as presented in the letter, and the location will, and the vote is 10-0. Agenda item number 11.
Communication from the Fort Meadow Commission regarding updated Fort Meadow rules.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just wanted to take a moment to thank the Fort Meadow Commission. The FMC has been working on this for the past year now and has done some very diligent work to get us some voting safety rules for the Fort Meadow Reservoir. Councilors should note that these rules haven't been revised since 1989, so this was quite the undertaking for the group. I know Commissioner Peter Sharon is here, so I'd like to thank him, as well as the other commissioners, Paul Gould, Carl Blatchley, J.P. Onate, Jason Schaeferman, and the chair, Gary Pelletier. With that,
Motion is made and seconded to accept and place on file the communication. Any discussion on the motion? Councilor Oram.
I would like to concur with the Ward 6 councilor. 1989, these are really a great change. And also, if anyone's listening who votes on Fort Meadow, as of April 1st, everyone operating a motorboat or personal watercraft are required to have a valid voter safety certificate. So that's going to make a big difference too, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Oram. Any other discussion on the motion to accept and place on file? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. The item is filed. It's 10-0. Agenda item number 12.
Communication from Attorney Brian Falk on behalf of the Gutierrez Company and the Marlboro Northborough Realty Trust regarding resubmission of the proposed amendment to Chapter 650 zoning to create the Ames Village Overlay District.
Councilor Roby.
Thank you, Mr. President. Move to refer this to the Planning Board and Affairs, set a public hearing for the City Council for October 20th, and advertise.
Motion made and seconded to refer this item to Urban Board. We'll set a public hearing for October 20th and advertise. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? This item, Planning Board with a public hearing October 20th and advertise, and the vote is 10-0. Agenda item 13.
Application to amend a special permit and site plan approval, Falk, on behalf of Taj Estates for the mixed-use project known as Eon Main, previously approved at 163 to 175 Main Street.
Council.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is exciting to see somebody coming back to hopefully fill that vacant spot. Move to refer this to Urban Affairs, set a public hearing for October 20th, and to advertise.
Motion is made and seconded to refer to the Urban Affairs Committee. We'll set a public hearing for October 20th and advertise. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? This is going to Urban with a public hearing October 20th and to advertise, and the vote is 10-0.
Boards, commissions, and committees.
Mr. President?
Councilor Doucette.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Motion to accept and place on file the minutes of the Board of Assessors and the Council of Aging.
Motion place on file the minutes. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? All the minutes are getting filed, and the vote is 10-0. Fifth. Councilor Brown.
Thank you, Mr. President. Move to send the claims to legal department, please.
Motion's made and seconded to send the claims to the legal department. In the motion. Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? The claims are going to legal, and the vote is 10-0. Reports of committees. Any reports of committees? Everybody's good? I'm okay. Agenda item 16.
Order number 25-100-9529A. Communication from Sal Caraval on behalf of Chapa Paisa Restaurant, 203-205 Main Street. Request for use of city property for outside seating. The recommendation of legal to approve.
Councilor Brown.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to move the recommendation of the committee to approve.
Motion's made and seconded of the committee. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? It is approved, and the vote is 10-0. Item 17.
Order number 25-100-9434E, application for a special permit from Attorney Gemma Cashman on behalf of Royal 401 Elm Street LLC, operating an approximate 203,500 square foot warehousing and distribution facility to be located at 415 Elm Street. Recommendation of the Urban Affairs Committee was to approve as amended. Time limitations extended to at the September 8th, 2025 meeting.
Councilor Roby.
Thank you, Mr. President. As the clerk just said, this was recommended by the Urban Affairs Committee to approve amendments. Since that was done, the full city council has made other amendments. So to an Urban Affairs recommendation at this point, it's a full council recommendation. And I know we get confused when we say move to deny. I'm going to do the opposite, although I will not support it. I will move to approve the special permit as now amended twice by this body and in proper form by the solicitor.
Motion's made and seconded to approve the special permit. I will ask the clerk, take a drink first.
That's okay.
Read the conditions, sit down. Mr. Clerk, you have the floor.
City Council, pursuant to its authority, Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 48, and the zoning ordinance, grants the applicant a special permit for the transportation terminal and freight depot consisting of the project for the purpose of operating distribution facility for goods and materials at the site as shown on the plans filed with the City Council, subject to the following conditions, which conditions shall be binding on the applicant and successors. 1, construction in accordance with applicable laws. Construction of all structures on the site shall be in accordance with all applicable building codes and zoning regulations in effect in the City of Marlborough and the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. The plans. 2, site plan review. The applicant shall comply with all conditions set forth in site plan approval for the project, and said conditions shall also be conditions of this special permit to the use. Any additional changes, alterations, modifications, or amendments as may be required during the process of site plan review or by the city site plan ordinance shall be further conditioned to the building permit. No occupancy permit shall be issued until the applicant has complied with all conditions. Subsequent site plan review shall be consistent with the conditions of this special permit. The plan submitted, reviewed, and approved by the City Council, special permit granting authority. 3, modification of plans. Notwithstanding conditions 1 and 2 above, the City Council or the Site Plan Review Committee may approve engineering changes to the plans so long as said changes do not change the use as approved herein or materially increase the impervious area of the use, reduce the green area, alter traffic flow, or increase the size of the building as shown on the plans. Any modifications of the use as approved herein shall first require modification of this special permit. 4, Conservation Commission. The applicant shall comply with the terms and conditions set forth in the order of conditions. 5, compliance with applicable laws. The applicant shall comply with all applicable municipal, state, and federal rules, regulations, and ordinances as they may apply to the construction, maintenance, and operation of the site, including, without limitation, compliance with local Conservation Commission orders, the Massachusetts Environmental Policy Act, and the State Building Code. 6, incorporation of submissions, photo renderings, site evaluations, briefs, and other documentation provided by the applicant as part of the application and is amended or revised during the application hearing process for the City Council and/or the City Council's urban affairs are herein incorporated into and become part of this special permit and become conditions and requirements for the same unless otherwise altered by the City Council. 7, hours of operation. The maximum hours of operation of the use shall be 24 hours, 7 days a week, subject to the following limitations. A, loading or unloading of trucks at the site is prohibited between the hours of 9 p.m. on Fridays to 7 a.m. on Saturdays to 7 a.m. on Sundays. B, forklift operations in the truck court area are prohibited between the hours of 9 p.m. to 7 a.m. 7 days a week. Operation and emptying of trash containers are prohibited between the hours of 9 p.m. and 7 a.m. 7 days a week. 8, lighting. Applicant shall install lighting in accordance with the plans to light trespass from the site onto neighboring properties. If, after the issuance of the occupancy permit during the first year of operation of the use, the building commissioner determines there is unreasonable light trespass emanating from adjacent property, such as direct light from a light source which is not confined within the site, or light overspilling onto adjacent property or into the night sky, the applicant shall take steps to address any such light trespass, subject to administrative site plan review of changes to lighting. 9, landscaping. The applicant shall plant and maintain in good condition the uses landscaping substantially in conformance with the plans. 10, signs. Signage at the site shall comply with the city's sign ordinance. 11, noise and air quality. The applicant shall comply with the city's noise ordinance and shall comply with all state emissions. Prior to the issuance of the building permit, the applicant shall conduct a noise study to determine baseline current noise levels at the site property lines. The applicant shall conduct the same noise study at 75% occupancy level, as determined by the building commissioner. The applicant shall provide occupancy level status and submit a copy of completed noise testing to the building commissioner. If needs municipal, state, or federal law ordinance, or other requirements, the applicant shall take steps to reduce the noise generated by the use in order to comply with said requirements. Bay doors shall be closed when the bays are not in operation, active loading or unloading, to prevent noise transmitting from interior operations. 12, water supply protection. The applicant shall requirements of the city's water supply protection district, section 640-24 of the zoning ordinance, and this decision does not authorize any exception to the prohibition, uses, and requirements of said ordinance. 13, traffic. Traffic associated with the use shall not exceed the projected traffic estimates, truck and total vehicle trips per day, provided by Vance and Associates, and set forth in certain transportation impact assessment entitled Proposed Warehouse Facility, 401 Elm Street, Marlborough, Massachusetts, prepared for Lincoln Park 2024. In the event the use exceeds said traffic estimates, the applicant shall be responsible to reduce the site-generated traffic in order to comply with said traffic estimate. Fulfillment center prohibited. The use shall not include any direct-to-consumer fulfillment center, last-mile e-commerce delivery center, or other similar type of use where the goods or materials are supplied directly, all of which are prohibited at the site. 15, hazardous materials. The use shall not include warehousing and/or transportation of hazardous substances and/or solid waste as defined in General Law, Chapter 21E, to, from, or on the site. 16, open space. The applicant shall grant a conservation restriction to the city by and through its Conservation Commission or its designee over the area of the site identified as potential conservation easement area, including any area outlined in green, shown on the plan attached as Attachment B. The restricted land. The form of the conservation restriction over the restricted land shall be approved by the city solicitor and the city conservation officer prior to the issuance of a building permit. The conservation restriction must be approved by the council and mayor before being approved by the State Secretary of Energy and Environmental Affairs. The conservation restriction must be granted and recorded prior to the issuance of for the use. The conservation restriction shall run in perpetuity and preserve the restricted land as open space. The conservation restriction will allow the applicant to construct, install, maintain, and repair any infrastructure, structural improvements, and/or maintenance required for the construction and use of the project and/or the site on certain limited to be identified on a subsequent plan for purpose of the conservation restriction, only subject to approval by the conservation officer. And 2, access said area to install, maintain, and repair the retaining walls, drainage areas, and other required utilities for the project and/or the site if necessary. And B, prior to the issuance of the building permit, the applicant shall provide a payment to the city in the amount of $25,000 to be used by the city for the maintenance and stewardship of conservation land in accordance with the City of Marlborough Conservation Commission guidelines. 17, recording of decision. In accordance with the provisions of Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 48, Section 11, the applicant at its expense shall record this special permit in the Middlesex South Registry of Deeds after the 20-day period for appealing the special permit has elapsed with no appeal having been filed, and before the applicant has applied to the building commissioner for a building permit. Upon recording, the applicant shall forthwith provide a copy of the recorded special permit to the City Council Office, the Building Department, and the City Solicitor's Office.
Well done, Mr. Clerk. Councilors, there's been a motion made and seconded to approve the special permit. You've heard the conditions. It is now in your hands to discuss. Open it up for comments or questions. Councilor Brown.
Thank you, Mr. President. So this is a project that I have thought about many times, and the many different amendments that have come through. And so I asked myself, why doesn't this sit well with me after all of these amendments? I think the project does not suit the area with the proposed use. I understand and appreciate the conservation for potential environmental impact and the pieces in there about looking back at traffic for potential neighborhood impact. But my main reasons for not supporting this would be for noise nuisance and traffic nuisance for the type of business this would be operating. And the way the accommodations for future studies are stated, it makes me consider the residential neighbors and that they'll be subjected to the nuisance and suffer as the studies are done and possible solutions are put in place. And then from my house, I can hear rigs braking on 290, and I moved into highways there and that these are sounds, but I don't feel like the residents of Berlin Road, Elm Street, Felton Street, not been subjected to this type of business use, and I have had constituents reach out with concern, mostly about the noise, traffic, light, and environmental impact, and all of those concerns still remain concerns for me, so I will not be supporting it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Brown. Anyone else? Councilor Ficillo?
Thank you, Mr. President. Obviously, we've had a lot of discussion about this project, so I'll try to keep my remarks brief. I appreciate Councilor Brown and the other councilors who've articulated their positions as to why they're opposed to this project. Just throughout this process, I've been trying to keep note of why folks are in objection to this and what would be some of these situations. And so I feel like the big three that keep coming up are the light trespass, the truck noise, and then the vehicle volume, which I think is noise. And so I go back and take a look at our conditions and what we've done so far to do something about these concerns. So going back to lighting, when this fair's, we had talked about how we can revise that language, and it's since been revised by both the developer and the city solicitor, that basically, the developer to determine, what is unreasonable light trespass to the adjacent property, and the applicant will have to take steps to address it, subject to administrative site plan review. Going to noise and air quality, right? They have to abide by all the city's noise ordinances, as well as they have to conduct a noise study. We'll have a baseline of what noise is at this parcel, and then 75% through the occupancy level, we'll do that study again to know if the noise is a concern. And if it is, they have to take steps necessary to comply with our requirements, right? So they are bound to make sure that noise and air quality will not be an issue. We look at traffic, right? Vanessa Associates, they are that traffic study that's been approved by site plan. So they are bound to this. This isn't just something that's in here as fluff. These conditions are applicant to abide by this. This remedies the noise issues. It remedies the air quality issues, the traffic issues. And then we go back to the last thing that I keep here, operation, right? We have 3 conditions in here under condition 7 that limit the hours of operation. And again, they're bound by those truck trips in the evening. 2 truck trips per hour in those nighttime hours. So it's not like this is a true 24/7 facility. I think a lot of these issues have been addressed by the urban affairs body, and by the developer, who's come back time and time again to meet us where we have concerns. So I'm fully in support of this project as amended by this body, and I recommend my colleagues also recommend approval of this and vote in favor. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Ficillo. Councilor Roby?
Thank you, Mr. President. Aided all along, I am also opposed to this project. This site is 24 acres, or about, according to the math that I had, 1 million square feet. The applicant proposes to build a distribution center, not a warehouse, known tenant of approximately 203,500 square feet, or about a quarter of, with a total of 185 parking spaces, about 30 of them at the far back of the property and all of the rest at the front, 35 loading bays at the back of the property, and a ring road around the building. It is located within a water supply protection zone, where a maximum of 33% of impervious covering is allowed, proposing to cover 43%. The site is currently covered with trees and includes, I tried to find out, but I can't read the teeny tiny little print on the copies that I have. But residents have told us they're concerned that they will see at the bottom of that grade from the residential houses that are down there. When asked at the public hearing, how many trees would be cleared, the response was between 70 to 75%, maybe 80 on the high end. But we have come with some mitigation where they'll leave the downward part of this site, most likely the unbuildable part, as open space. And we should be happy. They're giving a potential conservation easement, and with a recent amendment to the special permit, are providing the Conservation Commission with a $25,000 mitigation payment, which they will happily accept, but would rather not have. The city engineer's comments when this was discussed in Urban Affairs was that during site plan review, he had expressed concerns regarding the potential trailer truck traffic that could be generated. To address the concerns, the applicant did make significant concessions and agreed to conditions. Mr. DePristo then stated, while these will certainly help mitigate the potential impacts, I continue to reservations over the amount of truck traffic in that location, as do I. If this is approved and built, who will monitor the traffic? Who will check the noise? What will a truck driver do that arrives at 10 o'clock on a Tuesday night and finds that his truck can't be emptied until 7 o'clock in the morning? Will he sit there with this truck running all night long waiting for that forklift operator to show up at 7 o'clock? It's being built is too detrimental to the wildlife in the area, and the noise that will be coming from the site will disturb the neighbors. I'd rather not approve this and take the chance that the valid concerns of many people will come to fruition. Thank you.
Council Oram.
Thank you, Mr. President. I don't have much to say because Councilor Brown took the words out of my mouth in respect to ward councilor for 12 years. I understand. And again, Councilor Roby very much stated the environmental and so forth. I won't repeat it. But I will bring up, and I know I brought this up before, I was involved with a situation like this. I was out there with the noise meter at 10, 11, 12, doing my job as a health agent for one of our local communities south of here. You can't do anything about the noise from trucks allowed by the Department of... You can't do anything about the backup alarms allowed by the Department of Transportation. If the factory or something inside's making noise, 10% level that you go over does not apply to the truck traffic or the backup alarms. I know I've said this before. That's why I cannot even consider this and support our constituents, especially in this case in Ward 4. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Council Oram. Anyone else? Council Preciado.
Thank you, Mr. President. I am going to echo Councilor Roby and Brown's sentiments towards the project in consideration with conservation and the detriment that it will have to that area. I know that the attorney was really gracious and allowed us to, they are giving us 25 for our conservation land. To me, it's great, but I would much rather see that land preserved. I've had talks with conservation, and they are in full agreement with that. So I am not going to be able to support this project as it is. Thank you.
Thank you, Council Preciado. Anyone else? David.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I wanted to speak on this because I was one of the members during Urban who voted in favor of this project. I did so despite some reservations about the trucks on Felton Street. And the reason I did so is because you've kind of heard me drone on and on in the past about the intricacies of special permits and what gets voted on, what doesn't, and what you get when you're done with the process, and my frustration of it. Oftentimes, we do find ourselves in a position where it's better to have a special permit if something is going to go through to make sure that there are restrictions beyond what is allowed. And for me, it was important to make sure that we didn't have an Amazon. I think we've seen some of the detriment that has happened in Northborough on the roads, and those are roads that can handle this. And I certainly didn't want to see that happen on Elm Street. Since this has this is a little bit longer than it normally is, since it's been in the hands of the full council. I've had the opportunity to talk to quite a few residents, but also more time in that area. This is not that part of the city. This is not Ames Street. This is not Forest Street. This is not an area well equipped for this. I am concerned about safety, but I am really concerned about the impacts to some of the smaller roads, and then the safety that transpires from. So as much as I loathe to have I was for it before I was against it, in this particular case, I will not be supporting this this evening. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Thank you, Council Navin. Anyone else? Council Doucette, I'll get to you.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. This has been a tough one, to be honest. Debate about what's going on here. To some extent, we should be open for business and commerce. This location in particular in a betwixt and between location because it's right next to the highway. It's it hasn't been developed because it's in a terrible location. It's accessible reasonably, from Elms to Phelps, and not Phelps, the other one on the other side of 495. But the wonderful discussion we've had right now tonight, the points that you folks are making, I've really thought about, somewhat indifferent to really opposing it at this point. So thank you for the discussion.
Thank you, Councilor Doucette. Councilor Ficillo.
Thank you, Mr. President. I also appreciate my colleagues, and you've raised many very good and strong points tonight. I again would be remiss if I didn't say that I feel that many of the things being discussed have been addressed, and I just want to highlight a couple of things that I'm hearing. Folks would like to preserve this parcel of land. It's in the limited industrial zoning district, right? So if think about it, then I'd expect that, the council is going to get together and try to make a push to preserve this entire parcel of land, right? That's going to involve some sort of engagement in that parcel of land. So to say that we're voting no to preserve it just isn't true, right? It could be developed as a warehouse tomorrow. So, and again, it's a distribution center. So I go back to the fact that they're looking for a different use because the uses currently don't meet what is in the zoning, according to the developer, right? The engineer is concerned about the feasibility of this project. From my understanding, the engineer was concerned about the traffic study itself, right? He thought the numbers were too low. It was a too conservative estimate of traffic. Well, the developer's binding themselves to that study. So if the engineer is correct and, those numbers are low, they're back again. I can't help but feel that many of the issues that have been raised tonight are still addressed in this special permit, and just doing my count, it doesn't seem like I am here giving a good faith effort to try to persuade my colleagues. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Ficillo. Anyone else? Councilor Lytle.
Thank you, Mr. President. And thank you, councilors. I mean, it's wonderful listening to all of you, especially Councilor Brown being the ward councilor. We've all received various emails from constituents down in that area talking about traffic, talking about noise, talking about light. But they may change their minds if they knew that this company is going to help with our taxes here in the city. We are going to be sending out this year, and all of us have to be accountable to that, to those calls that we're going to get about how do they pay their taxes. Councilor Ficillo, this company is really they tried to address almost everything that came up, and they did it, and I think in good stead. As I said this before, and I'll say it again, when this body or one of its committees has certain restrictions, and the party addresses all those restrictions, we vote them down, their case in court could be very strong. Not a perfect project, Mr. President, but it is a project that I think would be suitable for the location, and I think that they would be good business partners. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Vital. Anyone else? Seeing none, I will ask the clerk to call the roll. Again, this is a motion to approve the special permit.
Yes.
Councilor Preciado.
No.
Councilor Navin.
No.
Councilor Vital.
Yes.
Councilor Oram. Councilor Doucette.
No.
Councilor Brown.
No.
Councilor Irish.
Yes.
Councilor Roby.
No.
Councilor Ossing.
Yes.
4 in favor, 6 opposed, sir.
On a motion to grant the special permit, there were 4 votes in favor, 6 votes opposed pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 40. 8 affirmative votes are required to grant the special permit. As a result, the special permit is denied. Councilor Navin.
Thank you, Mr. President. Move to adjourn.
Motion made and seconded to adjourn. All those in favor? Opposed? We are adjourned at 8:42. Have a good evening, everyone.